Hello and welcome to the Flory Models Friday Roundup Show. Here we are with you on the 17th of February 2023 after a really good week. To be honest, last week was a little bit all over the place, as you probably know, but tried to push on and make progress. But this week really have hammered on with the actual Eagle and got right the way through. Not quite finished, still got a few bits and pieces to go on this one, but we're definitely light at the end of the channel. I think another day just playing around with it, sorting it out, things like that, it should be all finished off. And again, this is one of those ones, it's an old classic kit in a lot of ways, being this is the old Tamiya one, and yes, it has got some problems, and I've moaned about it during the build and all the rest of it. And like me, typical, I made a few little cock-ups in it, completely my own fault, that's cost me a bit of time to put right and things like that. But actually, at the end of the day, with a little bit of heartache, the odd swear word thrown in, really chuffed with it. It's come out very nicely, I must admit. And again, we had a bit of trouble with the colours and things like that, and I'm glad, as we spoke about last week, I went back and repainted it and to sort out a few little niggling little things I wasn't happy with, and I'm glad I did now, because it looks absolutely fantastic. It's one of those things, I'm looking at it on the screen there, doesn't do it justice. It looks a lot better here because again, it looks quite flat on the screen, and on this I think I've got the sheen and the shines and everything else just about right with this particular one. But it has been a hell of a lot of fun, and say, it's strange to call it an old classic kit, but it sort of is now. This kit's coming on for 30 years old. And yeah, again, tooling's changed, a few things have changed. I would have done this kit a lot differently if I was designing it today, but definitely it has turned out absolutely fantastic. So anyway, we'll talk about more of that in a moment. So anyway, on Monday, it all started with part 9 of the actual build of this one up. And this is where we talk about the cock-ups with the paint and all the rest of it. So I basically repainted it all, as you can probably see down in here. Went through the motions of it. We use Hitaka lacquers, which I must admit, I'm a huge fan of their paints. They work really well, and I haven't used them for quite a long time now, probably a good 6 months since I've used them in anger, actually painting a model. I've sort of moved on to real colors, if you like, but actually, oh, they are good. They just go, you know, they cover really well. And being lacquers, painting freehand camo is a joy. You know, I know it can be a little bit of a chore if you're doing it with, acrylics and things with a little bit of tip dry, stop starting, cleaning, you know, mixing, things like that. But with lacquers, because they just eat themselves, they just go for it. So anyway, freehand camo on this one, right the way over. So I did my usual sort of, you know, bung a line down and then sort of sharpen it up all afterwards, as you can see down in here. And then obviously you can see we're happy with the color. So we did have to add a little bit of XF, XF 64 red brown into that one, because the color just wasn't right, or not for my eye anyway, looking at references that I've got here. So anyway, we went through the motions of it. It went down really well. Then we went back and we just sharpened everything up, taking care of all the different little bits and pieces. And then eventually we ended up with something very nice that we were completely happy with. And again, say, paint went down very nicely right the way through on that one, so that's good. Then we were talking about obviously masking up. I call it detacking, so literally use the old skin cells is the best thing you can do. So if you rub it up and down your arms, you know, get a bit of skin cells on it, you'll detack most of the tape, so that means it's totally safe for masking then, so you can just pop it down and we go through. So what I'm doing here is basically masking up the entire of the back end, all ready for the metallizers when those go in. So that was basically in there. So members, you can go off now, and obviously you can see the full video of this one down there on the actual site right now. Tuesday was my day, so we were in here and basically, as I said, using a little bit of on test, a couple of items this week. So we were using the AK matte varnish, which never used it before. This is the 3rd gen stuff, and again, I've sort of got back into using acrylics again. I haven't used them for such a long time, and I was using them with this particular build right the way over it, and really impressed. It went down absolutely gorgeous. I had no real problems with it at all, and it just worked. It was one of those ones. It's very easy to use. It's a good, you know, obviously bang for buck, because you thin it around about 80%. I would say start it about 75% thinners, and then obviously go through. Now, obviously they use their own thinners, but as I say, I used Tamiya's X28 alcohol thinners, and it worked absolutely fantastic. And I'm just comparing it there to the old-fashioned extra acrylics, because I'm quite a fan of that one. It's really old school, but that's a really nice flat sort of coat. And if you do it with, you know, a sort of a medium coat, shall we say, a little bit of a wet coat as you go down, you end up with a nice satin finish, where basically this one works just the same, but it's a little bit easier, I must admit. You don't get some of the much of the tip dry and, you know, the bit spitting and stuff like that as you do with the extra acrylic. So I can highly recommend that one down in there like that. Then next up, we were looking at razor saws. And obviously, we're talking about razor saws, when you would use them, great for cutting out panels and various items and things like that. And then what we were looking at is obviously the new one, which has got a triangle blade, which is dead handy for getting into tiny little areas. And as you know, my next build is going to be a full conversion. So we're going to need a lot of that. So anyway, we were looking at that razor saw. As I said, I've got the old-fashioned sort of square one, and you can't do much with. But this particular one, you can actually go through the motions of, and I'm just showing it down in here. There you go. So you can adjust the blade height as well. You get a deeper depth with it because you can actually slide them up and down and diagonal and all the rest of it, as you might imagine with those ones down in there. So when you've got them all together, you can do sort of that with. So yeah. Actually, good little bit of kit that doesn't break the bank, and it's one of those things, really handy tool to have in your toolbox, purely for, you know, as you say, if you're removing material, as in obviously taking out panels, if it's conversions, things like that, you know, you're chopping off an engine or something else, then a razor saw just makes minimal amount of damage because you're taking hardly any material with it, so you don't have to worry about it too much. And again, then Buster comes out, and poor old Buster gets a full-on chopping job, and we go right the way through it, and we show obviously how good a tool it is and how little it actually takes in the way of plastic. So yes, and that's what I did to it. That's when you look up and look at the camera to see if you're in, like, you can see, and then you end up doing that to the blade. But anyway, we straightened it out and it was all good. And then, as I say, no problem at all with that one. So very nice bit of kit, plus all the usual chit chat, answering questions and all the rest of it is what I do on my show on Tuesday. So members, if you want to catch up with that one, you can do that one right now. That's up on there. Tuesday, we were off to, obviously, PM Land, so off to the PM store, and as you can see by a great thumbnail down in here, just got released that morning was the actual U-boat conning tower section. And again, 1/35th scale, it was fantastic. And basically, we were talking about the virtues of it and how good an opportunity it is. And if you're not into full, you know, dioramas and things like that, then you can. It does come with crew figures and all the rest of it. So it actually, I've got one winging my way to me here. So hopefully it'll be here for next week and I'll get a review done of that one. But I'm really interested in this sort of sectioned of ships because I'm quite a ship fan and submarine fan, but I'm not really a fan of building them fully. But 1/35th scale like that for a section, I think is absolutely fantastic. And obviously we were talking about deck guns and obviously the home cruisers and on battleships and things like that. We've seen TACOM release them. Obviously this is the border model one. I think they're great. If you don't want to build an entire ship, but you want to do a nice sectioned one of it, then definitely that is the way to go. So, as always, we were talking about all what's new, what's coming out, what's coming in, what's got on pre-orders, what's winging its way to you members, things like that as well. So if you want to catch up with everything from the PM show, you can do. That's up there. And that's a free-to-watch video for anybody who wants to watch that one as well. Last night, we had the live show. We were discussing pretty much, a topical subject. Balloons. No, we did that at the end of the show. No, but we were talking about, obviously, with the cost of living crisis and obviously the cost of kits going horrendously through the roof in some cases and things like that about, you know, what it's like and things. And I still maintain that for a mental health point of view, and I think I'm going to have to do a full show on this because I've been talking to some of you today about this, I think that it's still one of the best bang for the buck hobbies you can get. For nothing else. You shut yourself away for a couple of hours. You can absorb yourself. You either get lost on YouTube, you do a bit of modeling, you're looking at references. I think it's a really good mojo sort of builder, getting yourself back. You have a bad day at work or at home or whatever it is. You know, modeling is just one of those things. You're sort of doing it and you get on with it. And the great thing is you're not alone. We're all here doing it together. So that's part of what it's all about. So anyway, live show, that was up last night. Members, you can go off and see that one for all topical debate and a few giggles as always. And congratulations to John as well. That gets us up to today, where part 10 of the Eagle's up. So obviously down in here, as you can see, it's all about doing the actual metal work. So I'm a massive fan of extreme metal. So after we'd actually bagged it up in a little bit of cling film and got it all fully masked up and all the rest of it, we were ready to go. And as you can see, we're straight in there with extreme metals for it, going right the way over. And then obviously we did the cans at the back. And then obviously we had to make a bit of a custom mix for getting the electronics bays all painted. So we needed those details. We also marked up all the wheel wells because obviously the great thing about the Eagle, you don't have them really. They've just got little holes for them to stick out. So they're down in there as well. So those are painted. We used, I can't remember what marker pen that is now. But anyway, I think it's a Uniball type one. But anyway, it's a gold marker for doing the radar. Then we put a flat coat over the top of it to knock it back. And that seemed to work very well. And then obviously we were putting the actual nose cone together, which is something I've done today because I've put magnets in it now to shut it. to hold it shut. Detailed up obviously in there as well into the actual radome, and obviously further weathering and bits and pieces that carried on with that one. So members, that is up on the site right now. You can actually go off and see that as we speak. So if you want to pop up there, you can do. This week's reviews, we had 2 reviews up for you. So we started off with the Mastiff. Great kit, tons and tons of detail in this kit. The only thing you don't get really is the engine, but you get everything else. So you've got all the running gear underneath, as you can see, and then obviously you've got all the interior down in the back and in the cab. So you've got all of that, and then obviously you've got all the armor plating on the side as normal, and then you've got all the bar armor on this one. So again, you've got a hell of a thing, and it's a massive lump. You've got a nice little bit of photo etch down in there. You've got the 50 for up on the roof. The tyres got nice sidewall details, things like that in there. And again, it's not a small kit. It's a huge chunk, lots of sprues in this one, and they're all very, very nice, and nice details right the way through. Say that roof lining is absolutely gorgeous. And then again, obviously the survivability equipment right the way through. And then if I just zip through, you can get down to the good bits with the bar armor. There we go. So again, it doesn't look very good on the screen, but actually if you look over at this one, this is how they are. This is the back side. The front side, obviously they're slightly angled as well. So it makes them look like they're thicker than they actually are, but they are correct when you actually get around to this way. And to be honest, it's got to be easier than doing it with photo etch. So anyway, great kit. Nice to see that we've got the British Mastiff up there as well now. So that will go along with a lot of your dioramas and collections, I can imagine. So there was that one. The other kit that we had up this week, obviously, was the legendary, much sought after, much spoke about, much wanted by me. And that's the HK Models 148 scale B25J. So a little bit of a later one. So it's got the turret up the front in here. We're expecting multiple versions, obviously long nose, short nose, strafer, cannon, and all the rest of it coming down the line. But this is a truly beautiful kit. You get a lovely print as well. So you actually get the print like we have with the Lancaster and the B17 and that. So that's very nice indeed. You get a huge 63-gram chunk of lead in there, which is all molded completely for the shape in the nose. So that's another little nice touch with this kit. And then you can see it's not too bad. I don't think it's a huge build. There's not a ton of parts into this. I was expecting, to be honest, a few more parts. I'm nicely surprised it hasn't. 2 different types options in the nose section as well for that one. And then obviously it all going together. You can see it's not bad at all. Nice in the bare metal scheme, I must admit, doing that one would be absolutely lovely. You get a nice little bit of photo etch as well. The decals are absolutely gorgeous, as you might imagine. Beautiful riveting detail right the way through on this one. No ejector parts on the inside. Lovely details you can see right the way throughout. And as I say, it's not a million parts on this one, so it's not going to take forever to get this one together. The only thing I would probably do, to be honest, is guns. Get different barrels, because you do that. The actual guns themselves is fine, but the barrels, I must admit, I'll probably swap them out for a little bit of Aston Martin, sort of, brass ones, things like that. But generally, very, very nice kit. Nicely detailed right the way through. Clear parts are absolutely gorgeous. And if somebody knows what this part here is on sprue P, this clear bit, can you let me know? Because I am absolutely lost to what that is. And it's not for holding it up or anything else like that. I assume it's for another version. It's just that I can't for the life of me think what that is yet. So if you do know, shoot me a message. I'd love to know that. But generally, a really very, very nice kit, as you can see. So yeah, lots of stuff going on just down in there. And as you can see, Eagle is here and sort of done. I say I've got a couple more things to do. It's so big, it doesn't actually fit in my, as you can see in here. So I have to do it like sort of this. But generally, it is really, really nice. If I try and show you down in here. Very happy. We've got the Quinta cockpit set down in there, if it plays ball. Really, really nice. You've probably seen all the bits on that one. And again, I have done a little bit of a snazzy thing just down in here with the old radar. So now it's got a magnet in it. Earth magnets. Save you for everything. So we've got this can open. I've got the side one has opened as well, so that can all come open and all the bits and pieces. So yes, very, very nice indeed. So very, very happy with this. Still got to do, say, a couple of little jobs to it. We've got a few little tidy up bits to do. And I've got one of the AIM-9 sidewinders down in there. We've definned it and we're going to turn it into an ACMI pod. And then obviously you can carry that on the pylon. But again, we've done some funky things and all the rest of it. Big thank you to Lee Chambers, who sent me a fuel tank, because obviously the C doesn't come with all the fuel tanks. The E comes with 3. and then the seed you just get one, and it's like we want two, so I want them on both sides. But no, very, very nice, I must admit. Really, really happy of how this one's turned out. Again, this one will be finished hopefully by the end of today, so you've actually got the next part will be up with you on Monday, and then there'll be another conclusion part on Friday, I think, looking at the editing, how this one's going to go, and then obviously we'll be good to go with the next build, which is going to be quite something a lot smaller, going back to 48 scale World War II, so that'll be something quite nice, although we are throwing a cockpit into it, an engine into it, and a load of other bits as well, so it should be a lot of fun with that one. Anyway, apart from that, everything else is going really, really well. Anyway, what we're going to do now is just have a quick look over at the PM store to see what they've got happening at the moment. They've been updated on the special section. So as you can see, just down on the special section, we've got a lot more bits and pieces in here. Obviously, we've got the Armour Hobby 72nd scale kit. So we've got the Mustangs and the Hurricanes down in there as well. A couple of Airfix bits that are back in stock as well. So we've got the Lynx, which is really nice to see, the Lightning, the FRS-1 Harrier. We've got the Chipmunk and that BF-109E4. So that's really nice kits as well as all these others. So if you're after yourself a little bit of a bargain, like we were saying with the old Credit Crunch at the moment, these are all brand new kits. These aren't kit reviews from me. They're not damaged boxes or anything else like that. These are all brand new, but they're all on special offer. So if you want to grab yourself anything from there, you can do just like that. Also, don't forget, we've got all massive restock of AK this week. We've got lots of stuff that's come in there, but we have got obviously new arrivals. There wasn't, to be honest, much in this week. It's pretty much the same. We have got a few of the GR79 Harriers back in though. So if you want to grab one of those, grab them quick before they go out again, because as I say, they're very, very limited on those ones. And again, there's that gorgeous B25. So if you want to get one of those, I highly recommend. It's definitely in my stash, and I'll be definitely building it later in the year. So keep a good look out for that one. Plus the fact the other ones, obviously you've got the Mastiff down in there and all the other bits down below as always. Don't forget, if you do want yourself a bit of a bargain, we've got a damaged box section, which has also got my kit reviews. All my kit reviews are usually a sealed backup. It's just that I have been in there and had my grubby little hands on them. So, but if you do want to get yourself a little bit of a bargain, you've got those. And also we've got some which got slightly damaged boxes. So it might have crushed corners, a crease in it, something very, very light. If it is big damage, we'll always explain it and put a photo of what the damage is down in there. But I can assure you all the kit parts are absolutely fine and there's no damage on those parts at all. And there we go. That's about it for this week. So what we're going to do is obviously leave you with your great work as we always do from the Friday. So until Monday, everybody, happy modelling. Take care.
I was not ready to falling like I'm wasted.